What are protists? When you see a living thing, one of the first questions you might have is whether it's a plant or animal. You might recognize a dog as an animal because of its fur. You might know a flower it's a plant because its leaves. Besides the appearance, organisms can be also classified by structure in their cells. For example, a plant cell has a cell wall made of cellulose and a membrane of its flexible fats. A plant cell often contains chloroplast organelles that carry out photosynthesis. An animal cell also has a membrane wall. These characteristics make it easy to identify both types of cells. However, some organisms, such as protists shown in Figure 1, cannot be classified easily. A protist is a member of a group of eukaryotic organisms which have a membrane-bound nucleus. Members of protist groups share some characteristics with plants and animals or organisms, known as fungi. However, they are not classified as any of these groups. Although protists have classified together, they are diverse and have different adaptations for movement and for finding food. Reproduction of protists. Most protists reproduce asexually. What does the offspring of an asexual reproduction look like? It is an exact copy of a parent. Asexual reproduction can create new organisms quickly. However, many protists can also reproduce sexually. Offsprings of sexual reproduction are genetically different from their parents. Sexual reproduction takes more time, but it creates new organisms with a variety of characteristics. Classification of protists. Scientists use to classify organisms according to their similarities. However, protists have unique, diverse classification of organisms. Typically, a protist is an eukaryotic that cannot be classified as a plant, an animal, or a fungus. However, protists might look and act very much like these other types of organisms. Scientists classify protists like plant-like, animal-like, fungus-like, based on which group they most resemble, as shown in Table 1. Plant-like protists. You may have seen brown, green, and red seaweed on the beach, or in an aquarium. These seaweed are algae. What type of plant-like protist? You might be classified as a plant-like algae or are plant-like protists that produce food through photosynthesis using light energy and carbon dioxide. Most plant-like protists, however, are much smaller than multicellular algae shown in Table 1. You can see most algae without a microscope. Diatoms. A type of microscopic plant-like protist with a harder outer wall is a diatom. Diatoms are so common that if you fill a cup with water on the surface of any lake or pond, you would probably collect thousands of them. Look at unicellular diatoms shown in the top of Figure 2. A diatom can resemble colored glass. In fact, the cell walls of diatoms contain a large amount of silica, the main mineral in glass. Dinoflagellates. Can you guess how this plant protist in the middle of Figure 2 moves? The organism is a dinoflagellate, unicellular plant protist that has flagella, whip, plant-like protists, and parrots that enable the protist to move. The flagella beat back and forward, enabling the dinoflagella beat back and forth, enabling the dinoflagellate to spin and turn. Some of these protists glow in the dark because of chemical reactions that occurs when they are disturbed. Euglenoids. Another type of plant-like protists are used flagella to move, have a unique structure covering its body. Euglenoid, shown at the bottom of Figure 2, is a unicellular plant-like protist with a flagellum at one end of its body instead of a cell wall. Euglenoids have a rigid, rubbery cell coat called pellicle. Euglenoids have eye spots that detect light and determine where they move. Euglenoids swim quickly and can creep along the surface of water when it is too shallow to swim. These protists had chloroplasts to make their own food. If there enough light to make food, they can absorb nutrients from decaying matter in water. Animals such as tadpoles and small fish eat euglenoids. Animal-like protists. Some protists are similar to plants, but others are more like plants. Animals. Protozoans are protists that resemble tiny animals. Animal-like protists all share several characteristics. They do not have chloroplast to make their own food. Protozoans are usually microscopic and all are unicellular. Most protozoans live in wet environments. Cilia are short hair-like structures that grow on the surface of some protists. Protists that have these organelles are called ciliates. Cilia cover the surface of the cell. They can beat together and move like animal-like protists through the water. A common protozoan with these cells is Paramecium. A protist with cilia and two types of nuclei. One example of Paramecium is shown in Figure 6. A Paramecium, like the ciliates, gets its food into an vacuole of storage area forms within the cell. The food particles are digested and the extra water is forced back out. Ciliates reproduce asexually, but they can exchange some genetic material through a process called conjugation. These results in more genetic variation. Flagellates. The dinoflagellates, a type of plant-like protist, used one or more flagella to move. The type of protozoan also has one or more flagella. A flagellate, however, a flagellate does not always move or spin, and when it moves. Flagellates eat decaying matter, including plants and animals and other protists. Many flagellates live in the digestive system of animals and absorb nutrients from food eaten by them. Sarcodines. Animals like protists called sarcodines have no specific shape. A sarcodine resembles a random cluster of cytoplasm or cellular material. These animal-like protists can ooze into almost any shape as they slide over mud and rocks. An Amobia is one common sarcodinate with an unusual adaptation for movement and getting nutrients. An amobia moves by using a pseudopod, a temporary foot that forms as the organism pushes part of the body outward. It moves by first stretching out a pseudopod, then oozing the rest of its body up into the pseudopod. This movement shows in Figure 7. Amobia also pseudopods to nutrients. Amobia surrounds a smaller organism or food particle with its pseudopod and oozes around it. A food vacuole forms inside the pseudopod where the food is quickly digested. You can see an amobia capturing its prey in the photo of the beginning of the lesson. Some sarcodinates and get nutrients and energy from ingesting other organisms, while others make their own food. Some sarcodinates even live in the digestive system of humans and get nutrients and energy from the human's body. The importance of protozoans. Imagine living in a world without organisms that decomposes other organisms. Plants, material, and dead animals would build up until the surface of the earth quickly become covered. Many protozoans are beneficial to an environment because they break down dead plants and animal matter. This decomposed matter is then recycled back into an environment and used by living organisms. Some protozoans can cause disease by acting a parasite. These organisms can live inside a host organism and feed off it. Protozoans, parasites, and responsible for millions of human deaths each year. One example of disease caused by a protist is malaria. Figure 8 illustrates how malaria develops and it's spread to humans by mosquitoes. Protozoans, parasites called plasmodia, live and reproduce in red blood cells. Malaria kills more than 1 billion people each year. 1 million people each year. Fungus-like protists, in addition to plant-like and animal protists, there are fungus protists. These protists share many characteristics with fungi. However, because of these differences from fungi, they are classified as protists. Slime and water molds. Have you ever seen a strange organisms like one shown in figure 9? These fungus-like protists, called slime molds, look like they could have come from another planet. The body of the slime mold is composed of cell material and nuclei floating in a slimy mass. Most slime molds absorb nutrients from other organic material in the environment. A water mold is another kind of fungus-like protist that lives in as a parasite and feeds on dead organisms, originally classified as fungi. Water molds often cause diseases in plants. Both slime molds and water molds reproduce sexually and asexually. The molds usually reproduce sexually when environmental conditions are harsh and unfavorable. Importance of fungus-like protists. Fungus-like protists play a valuable role in the ecosystem. They break down dead plant and animal matter, making these nutrients from these dead organisms available from living organisms. While some slime molds and water molds are beneficial, many others can be harmful. Many fungus-like protists attack and consume living organisms. The Great Irish Potato Famine resulted the damage of a fungus-like protist. In 1845, the water mold destroyed more than half of Ireland's potato crop. More than 1 million people starved as a result.